Welcome to a special Adrian Dragon Sabbath rare workout event. We're gonna be working out, training, and exercising on this red RED chair while watching the NFL draft. Was a bit moody, but I ate. I feel much better, and I'm gonna have my post-workout big feast. Thank you to my anonymous friend for the steak. I put some bacon that I got on special, and the bread was donated, and I had an onion me and my anonymous friend. So that's gonna be a feast. Thank you, firefighters. Workout is dedicated to my anonymous friend. If I make 1,000,000, I'm gonna give half of 1,000,000,000. 1,000,000,000 is 1,000 million, 9 zeros. 1,000,000,000 has 9 zeros. And workout dedicated to the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the electricians, the train conductors, those daycare workers changing some diapers, the firefighters, the teachers, those in the schools, high schools, fixing those lunches, making those lunches, preparing, baking, cooking, for the cooks, those delivering the food now, Sunday, Sabbath, those making some pizzas, some hamburgers, some of that good food. And for the construction workers, the welders, train conductors, dock workers, warehouse workers. Here it is, draft 2026. I'm not going to put it on. I'm watching the NFL, Please, NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, donate some charity for the public workers and reduce the cost of the tickets by 44%. My estimation is that the cost of the tickets need to be reduced by 44%. There's number one, Fernando Mendoza, 6'4", quarterback, round first pick. Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza was pick number one. I don't know how the contract is going to be, and we're going to work out with these 3 books. There were several books, like 11, but I can only stash in my backpack, which I had yesterday when I did my taxes. Only 3, so it's going to start with 3. This is Microsoft books related to computers. I'm no expert. I'm a beginner in computers. I'm just beginning in computers. The computer science journey begins all today for me as I finish journey. But in a parallel life, I live in the year of darkness 2030, and I always connect with my parallel self. And I get headaches from the science and the technology that he teaches me. And in that parallel timeline, parallel self, also myself, I have Asperger's autism as well. But in that parallel life, it is science, supercomputers, ICBM rockets, mathematics. Although here in this life, I'm above average in mathematics, but computers, I know a little bit. I'm just beginner level, HTML, hypertext, what that means. But I can always improve, my skills in computer science. I guess it's always best to begin today, I guess, before on the full moon to full moon, May 1st coming next Friday. And this is April 26th today, April 26th, and paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid my Netflix, paid my phone bill last week. That was quite stressful. My only stress now is financial, but I'm pretty jovial, joyous. For me, my best day is today. So this is, I guess, the first my best days today workout part of the series, I guess, which I'm gonna launch in the coming days. My best workout, my best day is today. My best day is today, because I survived COVID, I survived being depressed and suicidal, so I survived being depressed, I survived depression, I survived being suicidal, I survived COVID 2020 already. Thank you, my anonymous friend was fixing me some of that good stuff, she was fixing me some of that tea with honey and teas and all sorts of medicaments right here in this from Office and Temple 6 years ago. I moved here with nothing. July 1st is going to be 11 years, since I came here, and ever since I came here is gonna be, of course, a relationship what we have now. That I moved here with nothing. She gave me this great shirt. I'm not sure what it says there. I guess it's my new name, Adrian Dragon. Rebirthing during this COVID, still officially to changing it. I guess it's Adrian Dragon 3. Adrian Dragon, my new name, and I guess I know what's written on the back. It says Fulton County Death Crew Casket. I guess Fulton County is in Georgia, right? Fulton County. See, and here we are, and it's made in the North American Collective. It's made in North America. It's actually made in Haiti, but here in Canada, Haiti's part of North America, and of course, it's part of what I call the North American civilizational complex, along with Cuba, Jamaica, and Canada. Always integral for the North American Collective, and always for the 10, the 50, and the 3, meaning the 10 provinces, 3 territories, and 50 states. That's 63, but that includes the North American Collective, includes Mexico, Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba. Cuba's a paradox because they're socialist communists. So here I am on the beginning on the workout training, fitness, just gonna freestyle. We're gonna do a little bit of freestyle left and right, and I'm looking a little bit at that draw and pick number 3 here. Wait, who is number 2? I skipped number 2. Is already a pick running back, running defensive players. There's something which we're gonna I skip. So number first gonna have to be. I'm gonna give it back from the beginning when the draft starts, which it wrapped up yesterday, right? The NFL draft. Dancing is my favorite sport, however, but I always like to look at hockey and gridiron. I couldn't get the hockey game today. Go Habs go against the Lightning. Fourth game we're leading 2-1. All 3 games were played in overtime. I guess if they play in overtime today, maybe it's gonna be a record with that. And I have been challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since 2018. I got the red gloves here. These red gloves were gifted from my anonymous friend in 2018. Wow, more than 7 years ago, I guess. By using them, putting that sweat in them, I added some value. So I'm auctioning them for $1 million to give her half, buy her a house, and let's say, give me a few weeks, few months. Today's April, May. 63 days, I guess, like for the 63 since today is April 26. I guess that would be May has 31 days though, so we can do it June 28th, if not July 1st. Me versus Donald Trump or Usyk, whoever's the heavyweight. Usyk, Alexander Usyk, heard his undefeated. Give me 66 days, and I'm willing to get in the rink. Buy my anonymous friend a house for those 11 million and give her 50. Always gotta rock and roll it. And my neurological mental divergent condition, I am different, and I will always be different because of my autism. I'm on the spectrum of autism. I'm part of the less than 1% of the population who lives on the autistic spectrum. And for me, it has been a journey of discovery, of pain, struggle, losing friends, losing employments. And it has also been a blessing in disguise in the past years in a paradoxical manner, because I have special interests, one of it being fitness, sports and fitness, along with geopolitics and rock and roll. I always rock and roll for the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses. This is first round pick. Second pick of the first round was David Bailey, 6'3", 6'3". David Bailey from, so I guess it's going to say Mendoza. Mendoza was number 1. And David Bailey is second pick, and he's from the first round. This is the first round that I'm watching here, and it's gonna quarterback was picked number 1, a quarterback. So it's quite interesting. I was gonna be by begin back from the beginning. So on, I'm watching now while I work out. I'm watching the draft, the NFL draft. Although dancing is my favorite sport, I love gridiron, North American football, and please support women's sports, the PVHL. If I would be able to buy tickets, I would actually prioritize to get tickets for the Victoire, the professional women's hockey league. So for the Raiders, I want to see the Raiders picked Fernando Mendoza, the 6'4" quarterback, and speak for the Raiders. I'm a 49er first, Raiders second. 49ers first for years and years. You can see my Adrian the Niner videos there, and although dancing is my favorite sport, love to dance. Dancing has been, is, and will be my favorite sport. I can do some workout here on the chair, go up and down for the upper body. And I gotta take a little bit of a vitamin so I don't forget. What are the vitamins? Took 2 already. You gotta take 3 a day. So thank you, my anonymous friend, again. If I make $1 million, I'm gonna give half. And it's important to take vitamins. I moved here with nothing. When I moved here, it was long ago. Not that long ago. It's gonna be 11 years. 11 years. July 1st, and I had nothing, of course, when I moved here. I have the high school diploma, and really I came with nothing. Even yesterday I did my taxes, and I gotta say, I survived on less than 11,000. Less than 11,000. That is quite something, eh? Less than 11,000 Canadian in this tough economic time. But for me, my problem was that for years and years and years, I did not want to accept, I did not want to accept my my Asperger's, my Asperger's autistic spectrum. So because being on the spectrum of autism, there's spectrum, right? There's different levels of autism. So because autistic individuals who are less than 1%, we have trouble in social skills, because our brains are different. So, but like I always say, myself included, because it took me since from 2015, early 2015, till about October 2022, I was semi-officially diagnosed by several individuals who have experience working with people on the spectrum of autism. And it's not a disease, it's not an illness, it's just a neurological mental divergent condition which makes us predisposed to those special characteristics, special traits, and we can be super engaged, super concentrated, super intense. As you can see from my past years and years and years, that I have been, of course, for many years involved in, of course, involved in geopolitics and rock and roll, so always involved in geopolitics and in rock and roll. And that's how we got, of course, always to the left and to the right. And of course, I got to take a lot of pride in my geopolitical analysis, because in 2019, I had predicted what's happening now. 2019, October 2019, I had predicted that there was going to be an international conflagration. I have the proof, because to back it up, you can go back in time. Of course, I have the proof. So that, of course, complementarity, where I have this parentheses, me and my many Aspies, that we have the dedie, the double disorder and disability. But that dedie, disability and disorder, is superseded. There's running back. Number 3 is running back. 6 foot, Jeremiah Love. I love that surname. I'm always love for love, always down for love, love. Well, me, I'm part of the rainbow community, androgynous, pansexual, 50-50 with yours truly. If you're a man, a woman, a man, black or white or rainbow, you got to be 18 plus. So that for that play, you have to be 18 plus. You have to be 18 plus, You have to be 18 plus for that play. But if you're black or white, a man or a woman, we could write it down on a paper and put an hour, schedule an hour, and always open for business and pleasure, So my only stress now really is financial, but I'm rich. And kisses, kisses I got by the trillions, credited from the forgotten goddess. Full moon coming next Friday. I will to build the forgotten goddess temple. Suffice it to mention it that I wanted to build 11 times bigger than the St. Joseph's Oratory here in Montreal. There's exists the St. Joseph's Oratory, and I will to build it 11 times bigger than that sports arena complex, of which is called St. Joseph's. Today, I said Sunday, I was wrestling with my dragon. Say what? Nobody's born a dragon, you become one. That's the motto of the Dragon Army, and of course, that's how we got. And I love dancing, football, hockey. I'm calling the NHL National Hockey League, NBA National Football League, NBA National Football League, and NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB to please reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%. 44.9% is the estimated cost that the tickets need to be reduced, and give some tickets, of course, to the public workers. Tomorrow they're gonna pick up the garbage. Gotta salute the public workers who are gonna pick up the garbage, the compost. They're athletes also on those big machines, loading up the machines, going on the streets, running, taking the garbage, putting it in the machines. It's not all about the Wall Street, the Wall Street, and everybody gotta eat, and I'm not totally selfless. I don't make any pretense, nor do I have pretense that I'm without flaws, vices, or lusts, anything of that manner. I love my sweets, and I got some halva afterwards. I got some sweets, I got some marshmallows, and I love my wafers and chocolates. And I wish I could afford a massage therapy session, but cannot afford it today. Friends with benefits, if you're 18 plus, we can play. And I have a bathtub here where I used to live, I didn't even have a bathtub before. I used to live here on the island of Montreal, so I guess my life becomes kind of begins when I moved here. Although I was depressed and suicidal for a few years, until about 2017, when I crossed Canada coast to coast. That event, crossing Canada coast to coast, coast to coast, coast to coast. That's when I got out of being depressed and suicidal. That was in August. With my anonymous friend, we crossed Canada, and of course, in August, we took the bus. It was a 3.5 day bus ride with the bus. And of course, when we came here in September, of course, we had, of course, capability to go, of course, with the with a train, with a train, with a train, with a train. 25 hours and 44 minutes. I got the tickets. I'm auctioning them for a mayor. So that event in my life, I always go to that event in my life where I was super joyous afterwards. And sometimes I still get moody upset, but I was depressed and suicidal. I almost killed myself, eh? Fourth pick in round one. Let's see. Fourth pick in round one. So who's going to be select? Select Carnell Tate, wide receiver, gonna get those balls, gonna get those 44 yards, gonna get some running, 6'2", and check it out, the velocity. When I look at gridiron, my neurodivergent brain always sees velocity. Velocity has to be speed and direction. The velocity has to be speed and direction. So the velocity is speed and direction. You have to say north, south, east, west, or northwest, east, south, southwest, east, west. It has to also be northwest or north, south, or depends on the direction, right? When you say velocity, you have to include the direction, right? South, north, east, west, right? West, east, south. I'm kind of facing southwest. The camera is kind of tilted a bit. Southwest. So when you're looking at me, you're looking a bit at the northwest in a way, right? So I'm north of the camera. The camera is southwest of me. I'm a bit northeast, slightly northeast, not too much north for sure, but slightly northeast, right? The angles, So in my brain, there's always sort of a mathematics, percentages and ratios and some geometry, I guess, but a little bit of more percentages. I am above average in math. Many Aspies, people like myself on the spectrum of Asperger's, are on the above average in mathematics. However, not all are geniuses in mathematics, but most are above average in mathematics. I'm no Claude Shannon, by the way, but my special interest is geopolitics. So when you study geopolitics, I have to also claim my special interest, also known as obsessive interest, as is not. I don't use the term obsessive because an obsession is more for an obsession is more, of course, for somebody, of course, who is. Well, obsession, of course, is for somebody who is more on the as a neurotypical, right? Or the word obsessive is for somebody who is more like a neurotypical, right? Well, of course, the word, of course, to be used is the word to be used is the proper word is actually, of course, to be used is special interest. It can be two or three interests. I guess mine are the Holy Trinity. Sports, fitness, dancing is my favorite sport, and geopolitics, rock and roll. And sometimes I can spend hours, even today, if I calculate a total amount. Sometimes I have to self-impose a limit and a stricture of time management because it can be difficult for people like myself with Asperger's to time manage because our special interests can preoccupy our daily activities, and we have sports and fitness. So for years and years and years, I have, like many Aspies do, not just myself, but I have a ritual routines, although in the neurotypical language, I guess it would resemble a discipline, right? A discipline, but it's a ritual routine because of our special interests and our characteristics and the way to cope in mechanisms in many ways to deal with the neurotypical population, of which I'm more equipped now to build bridges because you are the 99% and we are the less than 1%. We have our problems in our community and high unemployment rates, say 80%, 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 Aspies are unemployed or underemployed. Think about that. That is very horrible. Isn't that horrible in nature? The paradox. And again, it comes because of we lack social skills, right? It's not that so for example, we can be very straightforward and direct. It's not that we mean to be rude or offensive. It's just that we perceive the world, our brain processes information differently. And so what some things might seem offensive or rude is just that, of course, the way which we have, of course, now to be correlated in the dynamics where we got now to be officiated, of course, all the relationships of where we got. But of course, all that relationship is with each other vis-a-vis other Aspies that we are totally integrated, or we work towards total integration and building bridges and partnerships for mutually beneficial cooperation and engagement, but we will still be different because we are different. Our brains are different fundamentally. And so, without getting too intellectual, academic about it, it's just our brains are different and we perceive the world, we see the world in a different way. So, when you interact with an Aspie, it's possible that you detect maybe abrasive abrasiveness or arrogance, or it's not arrogance or abrasiveness or rudeness. It's just our brains are different. And sometimes we might ask more specifications, more details, more precision, because our brains are just wired that way. Our brains are just wired in a way that if not, we tend to block, and there's like an impasse. So to build those bridges, it takes some patience and understanding, right? It takes some patience and understanding for our total communication to be set, and certain things such as, and for me, that's why I don't want to waste anybody's time. For me, it's friends with benefits only. If you're 18 plus, or pledge your allegiance, support my dream. My dream for the North American Collective, as our common manifest destiny requires it, in these geopolitical times of which I have predicted back in 2019 October that we will be moving towards, of course, that we'll be moving towards. In 2019, I had predicted it, that we will be moving towards these, of course, relationships of where we are now vis-a-vis the the world order as we had known it for before. We've had warned it for before. we have we had known it for before, because the world order before as we knew it, it has been, of course, protruded into all the manifestations where we got now to be correlated where we got. So all that relationships is, of course, something which we have to be related in the implementation of the left and the right and in the middle, and of course all that relationship where we got now to be correlated, of course. So that's just the relationships where we have to build with each other, so it's something which we have to correlate on the dynamical aspects of where we have to plateau our engagements, and of course to manage the characteristics and the traits of Asperger's, because we don't have symptoms, right? Symptoms is for a disease. A symptom is somebody which has a disease, while autism traits and characteristics are can sometimes be misunderstood and perceived as such, but it takes patience, and patience. I gotta give my anonymous friends some salutations, and I got a book which I recommend. It's called Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. That was loaned. I'm waiting for it to be ordered, because I gotta set aside $25, and I'm gonna put some money to buy it for $25. It's worth it to have it. So I have several books on autism, but that one particularly, and also this one that I gotta recommend. Although this is for more practical. At first, I wasn't that engaged with it, but I built a little bit of more common understanding, and it's called Teaching Asperger's Students Social Skills Through Acting All Their World as a Stage. I know it's like a big title, but it's called Teaching Asperger's Students Social Skills Through Acting All Their World as a Stage. So that is how we got, and that is where we are today, with fully accepting it. Around October 2022, about 3.5 years ago, more or less, around 3.5 years, maybe a bit less. That's when I finally accepted. So for years and years and years, since around spring 2015, spring 2015, I did not accept, I didn't want to accept. For years and years, I've been told, but I guess maybe a little bit of subconscious embarrassment and a shame, to be on the spectrum, until finally, having more than 3/4 of the characteristics and the traits, said I don't need to mask my autistic traits. The curse is kind of turned into a blessing over the many, many years of struggling and suffering. And I will always be an Aspie till the end, per the rub of who I am today. And I will always be different, and I will always have my traits, characteristics, which are odd and bizarre. But in parentheses, that DD, disorder and disability, in parentheses, DD, disorder and disability, which I have, as many Aspies and people on the autistic spectrum we have, is counterbalanced by the SS, by the special skills, which are, of course, can be above average in mathematics. We have a tendency to be above average in mathematics, and of course, number 8. Which one was number 7? I'm going to have to go back. Jordan, and, with a YN, not AN. Ardin. Tyson, surname Tyson. Becoming dragon here in the past during COVID. I can't believe it's been 6 years since I had COVID. I want to see who number 7 was. The select number 7 round pick, Washington Commander Sonny Styles. Sonny, 6'5". Sonny, Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles. So that's what we got. I guess it's a linebacker. play some defense, offense, and my protocols, initiatives for the North American Collective require a lot of mass financing of fitness for all my brothers and sisters, citizens especially. I take a lot of pride in the workout training program system, which for years and years and years I have been advocating it to be implemented across the North American civilizational complex, across the North American Collective, the, of course, workout training program system, which of course I have created right here in this room of Sun Temple in 2019 October, which myself I have performed more than 372 sessions of that same workout training program system. I've performed more than 372 sessions, and I created it to be an efficient, effective workout training program system designed for NATO complex, NORAD NATO complex, military, departmental security services, and defense institutions, such as I have been calling for the creation of the public-private partnership. My dream, basically, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, is fundamentally a call for a mass public-private partnership for years and years and years. You can see the pretty much ritual routines which are involved in me discussing my dream, and some theories, some protocols which can seem a bit academic, intellectual, and lots of that rock and roll, always rock and rolling. For the butchers and the bakers and the nurses and the truckers and the firefighters. Gotta get some rolling, gotta get it for the cooks, for the butchers. Shake those hips, move those lips, get a kiss. I'm gonna get hydration, a little bit of elderberry and water. It's important to hydrate. So I got elderberry from last year. This year I'm supposed to make another batch. I had made 4 bottles. This is the last bottle of elderberry juice. Made myself. I picked up the elderberries from the wilderness and I made elderberry juice. I didn't sweeten it that much, but it came out good. And this year I want to make more than 4. I want to try to make 44 bottles. 44 is going to be a lot for this place where I live. So I get a house, I get a basement, I'll make a lot more. I'll try to make 156 or 93. That would be a good number, 44. So Jordan Tyson, number 8. First round, 8th pick is Jordan Tyson. Wide receiver, another wide receiver. I'm being a little bit emotional. Me too, I suffered, struggled, and emotions, rejection, isolation. So just give charity. Owners of the NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB first. First the owners, who are mostly billionaires, but then the athletes who make millions of dollars a year. Support the dream. Support the creation of the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, the Imperial Integrated Dance League, to dance for the environmental education and action. And let's hydrate. Even then I put water. I mix my elderberry juice with water, but it's very good. Unsweet and not sweet. It's a bit bitter. I call it goddess juice. At my spiritual table is the god and the goddess, Say God bless, and I say goddess kiss, God bless, goddess kiss, because at my table I will to build a forgotten goddess temple in the Imperial Republic, and also the biggest ever Colosseum ever built. The biggest ever Colosseum ever built. I will to build it here in the North American Collective with me and Donald Trump fighting in a boxing match, and that boxing match should be on the Canadian-US borders. I have been challenging Granddaddy Trump. He knows I would have voted for Biden, but I was born in the United States 3 times post 1776. Just read George Patton, Through a Glass Darkly. George Patton has one of my favorite poems, which is called Through a Glass Darkly, and there George Patton discusses reincarnations, although he did not mention that he was also born a woman in previous incarnations and past life as I was. The priestess Pythia, who orated the great Retria to Lycurgus, and the great Retria to Lycurgus. That was, of course, the relationship of what I have to build now, and the relationship, of course, of getting in on the go with that. And that's just why we have to be correlated in all the dimensions, where we have now correlated with all the efficiency and, of course, the mathematics behind that is going to be for also the workers, right? Because have been for the NACWP as a mass public-private partnership. Public-private partnership is all that is my dream. And of course, the NACWP, the North American Collective Workers Party, the North American Collective Workers Party, North American Collective Workers Party. The North American Collective Workers Party is basically a Canada United States joint 21st century universal workers union based on my theories and philosophies such as universal revolutionary centrism. My centrism is universal, but revolutionary centrism is based on my public-private partnership theories and ideas and functionalities. Some of them are academic, more intellectual, more scholarly, but suffice it to say that is North American centric, because we are a North American collective. Myself here as a Quebecer, Canadian Quebecer, vice versa, Quebecer, Canadian, North American. We put it up for that French language here. We made the great linguistic compromise of the French language. That I had something in my eye. It was like some piece of dust or something, but kind of went off after I started blinking a bit. So yeah, my best day is always today. My past is depression, suicidal, losing friends, losing jobs, living in a moldy place where I did not even have a bathtub. I did not even have a bathtub. So these are the top 10 picks. Number one for the Raiders, quarterback Mendoza. Oh, it went fast, so I guess that's going to be it. But I can read them in just, let me go back a bit. So quarterback Mendoza, then Bailey for the Jets. Running back third Cardinals, Love. Number 4, Tate, wide receiver for the New York Giants. Reese for number 6 in the first round, number 6 pick, Kansas City. Delaney, number 7, Styles, number 8, wide receiver, Tyson. Number 9, Fano. Number 10, the Giants got 2, number 5th pick and 10th pick. The Giants came twice here in the top 10 picks of the first round in 2026 draft. F, that's what I'm looking on the screen here. Maigoa, number 10 is Mauigoa. Maigoa. Sorry for the mispronunciation, the surname. Maigoa. Again, I don't try to, but the Auig, is kind of cool. Hear it more pronounced, and then I'll get better at pronouncing it as I hear it more and more. I guess the start of the season in September. So these are the top 10, and now I'm gonna move to see the picks in order. I don't know if I'm gonna see them in order. Round 1, picks 33. These were the top 10. The top 10 is they're not in order. So from 10 to 20, then I'm gonna go for picks 33 to 64. Okay, let's see. Defenders fly off the board. Number 33 to 64, we're going to watch the defenders. Oh, my right eye again. And so, yeah, it's quite interesting to watch the draft, There's a red chair here. I'm auctioning it for $1 billion, and that's all we have to do together, and it's something which we have to be related in all the manifestation where we coexist now, that we have, of course, to be in the relationships of the faculties of being that sports and fitness. I love sports and fitness, and dancing is my favorite sport activity, but I love rock and roll, and I am pretty good, I would say, an independent geopolitical analyst, theorist, philosopher, and strategist. My strategies are mainly for the North American collective, for NORAD, NORAD and NATO, and for the NORAD and NATO complex, and the complementary aspects where we have now to be correlated, where we got to relate ourselves in the efficient positions. But San Francisco 49ers, second round. This is my team. Kyle Shanahan entering as the 49ers coach. Go Niners, go Niners. Let's see who we're going to pick. Come on. Go Purdy, go Purdy, go Purdy. 33, round 2, Brock Purdy entering. 5-year, $265 million contract extension. Signed last offseason. Brock Purdy, yeah. Missed 8 games, But he brought us to the finals against Kansas City, Brock Purdy. $265 million divided by 5 is more than it's actually exactly about 53 million, right? 53 exactly. I just do math by head. So 265 divided by 5. 265 divided by 5, right? It's exactly 53 million average per year for 5 years. That's a lot. Give 10% to charity. Give 5 million of that 50 million. Party, Mr. Irrelevant, If I make $1 billion, $1 million, a few million, billions, millions of billions, first is going to be my anonymous friend, buy her a house, by myself in her house, right next to each other, I guess, and that's gonna be it, and that's what we're gonna correlate, and that's just what we're gonna do, and keep on doing what I do because my ritual routines, have me that I pretty much repeat and do constantly workout, train, exercise almost on the daily since I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017. I have been and will call for the mass public private partnership support to implement my Trinity activities, and of course, categorizing the relationships of where we are now vis-a-vis my prediction from 2019 and the growing food insecurity in Canada. It's interesting that a few weeks ago there was a discussion here that they're having two-thirds of Canadians, those born between 1947 and 1996. Most Canadians born between that period of time, about two-thirds, 66%, have a nostalgia. They view that Canada was better, considerably better, way better slash considerably slash way better before Justin Trudeau's election as a prime minister in October 2015. And so, who did we select? Stribling, wide receiver. Stribling. We had the 33rd pick. Stribling, wide receiver. Welcome to the fam. 49ers were not nation, we're empire. 49ers, San Francisco, give some charity, purdy, Mr. Relevant. Please give some charity for those who rehabilitate. I always love people who pass for rehabilitation. I don't know if me, myself, before 2014, because I have a good memory of the past 9, 10, 11 years. Then after 11 and a half, 11 years plus, it gets foggy. Then it's like blackouts. I have trouble remembering my life prior to February 2014, which is more than 12 years ago. Between like late October, November 2013, before October, November 2013, or before like it gets blurred before February 2014, and just before October, November 2013 is like a blackout, then I have a good memory of like it gets I have a very good memory of the past like 11 years plus. I lived in a moldy place, very moldy. I didn't even have a bathtub. It was so small. It was like a prison cell. I always say I served my time there, but I didn't serve my time, I guess. But serve my time, but gotta give, of course, on the left and on the right. And so yeah, but what matters today, But mathematically, looking at the numbers statistically, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me that. It doesn't surprise me at all, actually. That looking at the statistics, for example, the statistic that is mathematical and accountable that food bank usage has more than doubled in 7 years since 2019 in Canada. That's statistically so. Right? The account mathematical financial accounting. So the fact that it has doubled, not in 40 years, in 45, in 50 years, just in 7 years, just in 7 years, of course. So that, of course, has to be accounted for in the domain, in the relationships that we have now. And that's, of course, where we coexist today. So that coexistence is the relationship where we are now. So that faculty, that reality, and facultatively analyzing it, you see that since food bank usage has doubled, there's a growing food insecurity. So that's tied to the economic deterioration, financial deterioration of Canada, right? So basically, of course, the financial deterioration of Canada, of course, pursued to what, of course, the existence is of today's environment in the relationships, in the relations with the geopolitical events, and the geopolitical events that I have predicted back in 2019, of course, has been, of course, in the relationships of existing now, where we have to be relations, of course, in all the relationships where we coexist now. So that faculty, of course, and that arrangement or that relationships where we coexist now, and of course in all the domains of the North American collective as an integral civilizational complex, are thinking always strategically or politically, socially, as we would be united with the United States, of course, even before Trump's election. My way best to fuse Canada and United States, but anyways, to just recap the fact that many Canadians have nostalgia and I don't. I don't have sentimental nostalgia. My best day is always today, always today. Grateful for the food, for the pizza, for this place, I guess, although it's still small, I can't have people over, but I'm still grateful for having an internet connection. I paid my internet connection, I paid my phone, paid my Netflix. I can watch some Netflix. Over the weekend I watch with my anonymous friend, and I guess May is gonna be the last month, and then June, July, August, I'm probably gonna get it off for the summer, because gonna do some other activities, but that's just where we are. So we're gonna go 6 yards to the left, 6 yards down the middle, six. That's 18. Get that first down, maybe move on for the touchdown. But yeah, many Canadians have nostalgia, and I don't have that. I don't have the nostalgia. For me, my best day is still today. Although, if I look in the past, for me, my life was worse. Losing friends, losing jobs, and survived COVID. I can't believe it's been 6 years. Thank you, my anonymous friend. She was making me some good teas and putting some good honey in it and making some medicaments that kind of got me through it, because I really thought that was going to be it for me, 2020. Sometimes I say it was 4 years, 4 years, but it's not 4 years. It's actually been 6 years. It feels more like four for some reason in the timeline. It's easier for me to say 4 years than six, but in reality, it was 2020, between mid February to mid March that I had COVID. So 6 years, is something that I have to be in relations with now. So of course, all that relationship in the faculty where we exist now, for the relationship of course, all that plurality in the advancement, of course, of the relationship of which we exist. So all that relationship, of course, so you know, you know, no way they move. 6'2", 6'2", 326 pounds. I don't know if I'm growing. Me, am I growing taller? Am I growing to 6'1", 93.7 kilos? Last time I was 94.6. Try to be between 90 and 95 kilos. Always between 205 and 215, but I lost between 80 and 93 pounds, after I got out of depression. I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. So of course, all that relationship of what we have now, it's always, my best day is always today. My best day is always today for me. My best day is always today. So that is the fact that my best day is always today. So happy, joyous today, financially stressed, but that's what it is now. And yeah, I understand, fellow Canadians. Looking at the numbers, the growing unemployment, the growing cost of living, prices having gone up, and I do that constantly for years and years, since they have started going up about 4 or 5 years ago. During COVID, I started discussing it in my videos. As you can see, every week I make concordance and do the mathematical percentages, of course, of the discourse of the growing cost of living and how it has increased, of course, how the cost of living crisis has unfolded over the past 6 years since COVID, and furthermore with the new conflict, of course, the Iranian conflict, which has unforeseen consequences because we're living in the worst oil crisis. Us in Canada here, due to the Athabasca tar sands in Alberta, we would be totally energy oil energy, gas energy independent, because but the problem is that in the Athabasca tar sands, because of the extraction processes to refine it and to extract the oil from the Athabasca tar sands in Alberta, the bitumen is it's more complex and it's harmful for the environment and it's costly. So those double trouble parallels, one that is costly financially, the extraction procedures and the equipment machinery needed, and the labor, and the fact that it's not yet environmentally friendly. But here in Quebec, I gotta say that I'm doing this video with clean, zero pollution, zero energy. So I always gotta salute. We gotta build more dams, and we have 63 dams. 63 dams, of course, which are, of course, part of the North American Collectif. 63 dams built before, of course, 63 dams in the complementary, of course, that we have built 63 dams in Hydro-Quebec over the past many decades. The new ones, the La Romaine 1, La Romaine 2, La Romaine 3, La Romaine 4. And that this energy that I'm using myself now in this video that I'm using for my YouTube channel, and that all the electricity that I'm utilizing, whether to take showers or do the cooking, because I did some cooking of the bacon earlier, which I got on special. And all across Quebec, all the electricity is clean, zero pollution, does not pollute at all. It's environmentally friendly, comes from water. 63 hydro generating power station, 63 hydro generating power station. It goes all the way to the United States, to 3 states, and it goes all the way to New York, Manhattan Island. New York, Manhattan Island. Raiders with in the second round, the 38th pick for the Raiders. Traden Stukes, 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 not O, but U. Stukes, I guess. That's the surname. Stukes. Stukes. Number 38, Raiders. And so, all the way 1/5, 20% of Manhattan Island is receiving now electricity from Hydro-Quebec. So, you see, it's environmentally friendly. So, that's quite a plus, quite nice, in the relationship that we have. But, that is the electricity which does not pollute. By the way, I'm auctioning the the socks, everything that I'm wearing, this for $1 million. The underwear, the flag, and the socks. The socks for $1 million. Give my anonymous friend half. Buy her a house, pay my $10,000 debt. I do have $10,000 debt. That's my financial stress, But I always pay my rent in time, and rent first, electricity first, and I live a pretty austere, severe lifestyle, and I don't have nostalgia. For me, my life was worse in the past, My life was worse. Yeah. My life was worse, and over the past years, since I got out of depression by crossing Canada coast to coast, 2017, I still got those tickets. Still have to do a big spring cleaning. I guess we'll have to do May 1st on the full moon, or a day before, So that's what it is with that rocking, and that's what we have now, always in the contingent of the plurality of the affairs of which we are to manifest now, but all that strategies and all the correlative aspects of where we are today is that we live in the structural implementation of the structural apparatus of living today in the concordiate of what we have now. And that structure and appellation, of course, is something which we are to be observable, and observing, of course, all the relationships where we coexist are that in reality 2/3 of Canadians being nostalgic of those born between 1947 and 1996. So that is a big age gap, right? If you think about it, that is a big age gap in the relationships of the fellow Canadians that we are structurally involved with. The fact that it's such a massive amount in terms of percentage that are nostalgic, so that they view Canada before October 2015, the Harper era, which lasted about 10 years, 2005, 2015, and the Jean Chrétien era, and before that, the 80s and the 90s. So because of that reality, the contingency, where we have, of course, developmental relationships where we coexist now in the structural representations where we are to meditate from a geopolitical perspective in a co-parallel manner with the events which have unfolded, especially in the past years, especially since Russia invaded Ukraine, the Russia-Ukrainian crisis, which again is an unresolved conflict from the 20th century, and that was mainly one of my predictions of 2019, or one of the general main characteristics or reasons, motives, why I concluded that we're headed towards an international conflagration, aka World War III, was due to the fact that there were many nation states, civilizational complex, and regions that did not fully resolve their conflicts from the 20th century. And if you look at what's happening now, many those conflicts, all of them are really rooted in the 20th century Cold War period. Russia, Ukraine, right? Cold War era unresolved conflict. Israel, Hamas. Hamas was founded in 1984, 87, 87 by Ahmed Yassin, and that's an unresolved conflict. It took them 20 years to get into power, and October 7th was a vicious surprise attack, right? Just like 9/11, and I myself have survived a vicious, murderous, homicidal surprise attack years and years ago, and I have a final deadline to go retrieve the archives. July 1st is to clean my room off some temple and propose a third time because I got two no's. It's gonna be special rainbow type of marriage because I'm androgynous pansexual. If I get a yes, I hope so. July 1st or just before midnight, July 1st. I got the 3:44 p.m. EST Hawkeye and Montreal time deadline. So 3 p.m. EST, July 1st, 3 p.m. 3 3:44 p.m. 3:44 p.m. July 1st. So to go retrieve the archives of the Jewish General Hospital. I did the formulation of course I went, but they had closed at 3 p.m. They had closed earlier. I missed a few minutes, and I made a request via email, and they sent me some documents, but I don't have a printer, and I will see if I'm gonna be able to print them. Otherwise, I have to go inform with the archives, the medical history archives, medical records archives, because years and years ago I went all bloodied up after a vicious murderous surprise attack, and I was hit in the head a few times, hit my head on the concrete, had a dislocated right arm, right shoulder, and my right arm was dislocated. My right arm was dislocated. I had a dislocation of the right arm, and of course the doctors performed a medical procedure. They performed a medical procedure where, of course, the right arm was cracked back, crack, and I was given some meds. So I want to know what were the meds. What was the medication that I was given? What was the medication that I was given? I'm curious. And the cast was a removable cast, but I'm curious more about the meds. What purpose did they serve, the medication? Were they opioids? Were they for pain or for restructuring the the ligaments? Were they for healing or anti-pain? Because I was given some prescription meds, so I want to go see when did I go to the emergency emergency room, emergency department, the in Montreal, the Jewish General Hospital. And I have a very good memory, but just before October, November 2013, there's like a blackout on my memory. I don't know if I was a junkie or what, doesn't matter, but sometimes I guess in dreams and maybe with PTSD, I am hyper vigilant. I don't like violence. I do not like violence at all, but I am hyper vigilant, but I don't like violence. I don't like violence. I am hyper vigilant. I don't like violence, and in the concomitant aspects of what we have now, of course, in the relationships where we coexist, and that's where we are. Man, today, carpe diem it. Just gonna do a little move here. So, for me, it's carpe diem. For me, it's carpe diem it every day. Since I died of COVID. Take it as if it would be my last day. I call all to support my DRT theory, the debt for fusion theory for the creation of the universal exchange in it. The UE, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot UE. Paradoxically, it is what we have to implement for both Canada and the United States. You can see it in my shorter videos formats, which I do a little bit of a small brief discussion on it. And of course, that small brief discussion on it is relevant to the theories and the protocols of which myself I have, of course, to announce or to be integrated in the what I call the Great North American Collective, which again includes Haiti and Cuba, Mexico, Dominican Republic, but as first integral implementation of the DRT across Canada, United States binationally, and then move it forward to the North American Collective and even beyond to the BIS Bank of International Settlements. So I require the support participation of all public-private partnership institutions of both public and private. My brother Scorpio Mark Bill Gates and Flock Safety Palantir and all the institutions and corporations to support the creation of the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dragon Army, aka Imperial Integrated SSD Legion, Security Service and Surveillance and Defense DDD, Coast to Coast, Ocean to Ocean, Admari Maschi, Pluribus Unum, fused into the Draconis Imperium Legionis Servitium. That's of course the Latin for the Dragon Legion served the Empire, but the Empire of the people, the free, the brave, the strong, the loving, and the just, and the righteous, the free, the brave, the strong, the just, and the righteous, the free, the brave, the strong, the just, and the right. Only coast to coast defense, ocean to ocean, and secure food, housing. It's a dream. It's a big dream for the North American collective in all the realities of the mass dream for the incorporations of the North American civilizational complex and all, of course, the domains and the appellations, of course, of the structurations of existence in the realities that we are living today. Because I carpe diem it every day, and again, I predicted what's happening now in a general manner. I have to say, it was a general manner, not an overall detail. For example, I was really for a second, I didn't really because when I predicted an international conflagration that's coming in the coming 7 years, back in October 2019, Donald Trump was still president. He was on his first term. Right afterwards, Biden came into power, into office. There was an intermediate period where Biden took office as president, 4 years, right? And I wasn't, I wasn't thinking, to be honest. I was a bit below. It was kind of 50-50, but at the same time, I said Donald Trump. I was more convinced in the minus 50 minus percent. So in the negative that Donald Trump will win, and more for Biden Kamala 50 plus percent, right? So Kamala Biden 50 plus percent, Trump Vance 50%, but in the minus, right? So I wasn't thinking that Donald Trump is going to get reelected, right? But Granddaddy Trump got reelected and did some mistakes. We do a lot of mistakes, but paradoxically, of course, it is in the absence of the king, because I have Canada tatted up. I have that flag always on me, always for the 10 to 50. And I'm a mystic. You gotta read George Patton, Troy Glass Darkly. I was a man, a woman, a woman, a man in past lives, incarnations, even in the USA. Post 7076, I lived once as a woman and twice as a man, served in the same United States Armed Forces twice. The wars were two different wars. In two different wars, but same United States Armed Forces. Guess which wars, 156 years apart. And read George Patton through a glass darkly. Me and George Patton, I was his wife and he was my wife. So we were husband and wife and husband in two different incarnations about 3,000 years ago and 2,700 years ago, circa. Estimation, approximations of past lives, incarnation today. It is April 26, 2026 is all I have is today. I don't have nostalgia, nothing like that for yesterday. My strategies and theories and protocols best for the continuance of the common, as we have Canada, United States, what I call a common manifest destiny, which is embodied mainly and partly in my mass public-private partnership to be incorporated across Canada, United States, integral for total security, total service, total defense, and to mass finance fitness, mass finance tourism, imperial tourism, 4 days times 4 times 4, 16 days a year for every equinox of the spring, solstice of the spring, the summer, and the autumn and the winter, 4 days every four. We're going to incorporate that with all institutions and organizations and colleges and universities as we're going to fuse the RCMP and the FBI into the CPS, Citizen Police Force, aka Imperial Police Service, and the CIA and CSIS into the Imperial Security Integrated Service, and do a great census, create the UE, fuse the Bank of Canada and the Federal Reserve, fuse the Federal Reserve and the Bank of Canada into the Imperial Central Bank and issue the UE, and then extend it throughout other North American collective countries such as Cuba, Haiti, Mexico, Dominican Republic, and beyond in the BIS, Bank of International Settlements. And now NATO has 32 member countries of NATO. And before October 7th, of course, I had my lectures on Genesis 33, which we have to revive and see if we do it at 2.0 in the progressive body of the 2.0 complex. Gotta get Genesis 33 project. I guess we have to do a revival of Genesis 33 as an integral part of our quest for world peace, and we have to see. Oh, you have there's the second day of the NFL draft. I guess we can watch a bit of the last rounds, eh? It's not all about the first and the second and the third round. It's not all about the first round, eh? Gotta get for the fifth and sixth and seventh, eh? So let's go a bit advance and see who's gonna be on the day for the different rounds and different picks, and see who's gonna get drafted. And who do we got drafted now is round 3, number 91 for Las Vegas Raiders. Round 3, eh? Oh, we gotta go through the last rounds. Let's see the last rounds. Round 1. I want to see the, because Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, eh? Remember Purdy? Now he's got a 5-year, $265 million contract extension since a few months ago. So, like I said, 265 divided by 5, that's 53 exactly, right? 53 exactly. So he's gonna average about 53 million a year. Purdy, wow. So that's enough to give some charity, and please reduce the costs. National Football League, NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, NBA by 44.9%. Oh, there's round 4 to 7 NFL draft. Round 4 to 7. Round 4 to 7, I guess we gotta get it going to see. Let's see here. Number 155, wide receiver, solid awareness, great speed, field stretching ability, break back to the ball. For Raiders again. Hey, Raiders, keep on coming. That's my second team. Favorite all time for years and years and years. You can check the proof. I have the Adrian the Niner. We're Empire, not Nation, and Brock Purdy all the way. But it's Niner first and always for the Empire, and Raiders second. 24 years of age, 6 foot, 189 pounds. What's the name though? Okay, Malik Benson. Ah. 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 Malik Benson. And again, those wide receiver get some yards. And I just want to discuss again the fact that I don't have nostalgia myself. Oh, what happened? I moved from the. Oh yeah, it moved because I pressed the button here. So I'm just gonna have to. Just gonna see for the rounds. I have to go back to the rounds. 7 round. Round 7. 7. Round 1. Round 7. I guess it's gonna be 7. Let's see. What can I get? All 7 rounds. Oh, this was gonna be, I guess, a quickie. It's just quicker. It's just compounded. Let me see. $254. Dion Burks, round 7. Who is Mr. Irrelevant this year? That's the question. Who is Mr. Irrelevant? And mathematical question for the offense in the whole. Because I love mathematics. I'm above average. I'm no Claude Shannon, but all the round picks, all the offensive players, the running backs, quarterbacks, and wide receivers. How many total yards did they have, the offensive players? That's a question for somebody to have to do that addition, that math. But there's a definite number, right? Because somebody might have 156 yards, 93 yards, 333 yards, 418 yards, 718 yards, and so on and so forth, 44 yards. But then see how vague it is because I didn't specify. Because for how many yards for what? For one season or total until they got drafted? And I'm going to have to specify because otherwise it could be a trick mathematical question. Until they got drafted. So I have to be more specific, more detailed, because otherwise you can do different math, but say you did the math, but then hey, I did it for all season, but maybe it was only for one season in college, or maybe it was for high school. All yards, since all they played football in high school and university, or college, high school and college, all the yards that they have accumulated offensively, the running backs, the wide receivers, and the quarterbacks together in the 2026 draft. So you're going to have to take all the 200, all the 7 rounds, take all the quarterbacks, take all the wide receivers, take all the running backs, take all the players in the offensive team who accumulated yards gain, or yards, right? Who gain yards, whether running or receiving, right? Running and receiving. I can separate into running and receiving, and then I had classification, but all of them. There's a definite number. I wonder how much it is. Do you know? Well, there's mathematics. Isn't it great that that number actually exists? If I specify that question, it adds up to exactly an amount. Or, for example, for the defensive players that were picked in the 2026, the 2026 draft picks that were defensive players, such as linebackers, right? Offensive line, safeties, all the defensive players. How many sacks? So all the 7 rounds, there were a certain amount of offensive players that were selected. What is the ratio between offense and defense? Usually balances, but it could be 44 to 56. Is it that? Is it 56 offensive players and 44 defensive players? Usually should be close to 50-50, right? Because you have 11-11 on any given time. So, but there can be an imbalance from year to year. And then if we look, let's say, since 2000 and since in the past, let's say, since 1984, since the draft picks, or for the past 10 years, or for the past 15 years, or since 1989, 1996, let's say, or in the past, since 2010, 2015, whatever, in the last 10 years, let's say, the last 10 drafts, what was the ratios? Was it 51% to 49%? Offensive players were 51%, defensive 49%. See, that's why I love mathematics. Math is my friend, and I would actually love to do those numbers. I do mathematics constantly. Sometimes I look and I add in my head, probably from the information I kind of have the answer, but or part estimation, which is pretty close to the precise, but it's not exactly precise, but it will be a close estimation. But I would love to look at the numbers of the past 10-year drafts. What was the percentage ratios? Because you have an exact amount of players in the 7 rounds, right? So that the 7 rounds, all the players that were drafted, that's 100%. That's the total number, right? So that's the total number is 100%. So let's say 150 were offensive players, 150 were defensive players. So that we transmute into the ratios, right? So basically it would be kind of like 66% with 33.4%, right? Isn't it beautiful? The mathematics. And in Gridiron, there's a lot of math. So if I would look at the numbers and then I would put them together, I would be able to do the math to answer the question. What was the percentage? And it should be around 50-50, but it could be that 55% were defensive players, 45%. It could vary. There's a variable from year to year, because some teams might need more offense. If a team has 3 draft picks and they need to increase their offensive power because they have a good defense, then they're gonna those 3 picks in the 7 rounds, or 4 picks, or 7 picks, or 4 picks or 5 picks, they might draft 4 offensive player and only 1 defensive player. So their ratio for the 5 picks is 80% offensive players, 20% defense. If they have 5 picks, if they have 3 and they draw they pick 2 offensive players, a quarterback and a wide receiver and a linebacker. That's 2 over the 3 is 66% and 34%, right? It actually breaks down to, doesn't, when you have 3, doesn't break down even. Only when you have 4 or 5. 4 or 5, 4 is each, or the fraction is 1/4, and that's for each player of the 4 is a quarter, 25%. So if a team draft, for example, let's say my 49ers drafted 3 offensive players and 1 defensive players because they had 4 picks. It's not the case, but let's say, or any other team, then it would be 75% offensive players to 25% rate the percentage. So this always happens in my mind, calculating the exchange percentages, flipping the numbers into converting numbers or equations or statistics, because this is basically kind of statistics really, into percentages. So if a team has 5 picks or picked 5, then 5 is in the number that's equated to 100%. And if there's 3 offensive players and 2 defensive players which they picked, that's 60% offensive players versus 40% defensive players. You see where you see the math? And of course, those are valid questions, such as, for example, what all the players drafted, how many players, what was the total number of interceptions, right? The total number of interceptions or sacks or tackles or yards or touchdowns. So it could be that defensive players intercept and score a touchdown. So then we have to count for all the players. How many touchdowns do they have? Right? Because if a defensive player fumbles, recovers, and then goes all the way, right, then that's counted as a touchdown for a defensive player. It could be a linebacker who sacks the quarterback, gets the ball, and then runs to score a touchdown. Because the linebacker converts into, paradoxically on the field, a defensive player can convert into an offensive player if it recovers the fumble. If the adversarial team, player on the adversarial defensive team, recovers the fumble, then that's kind of what happened with the Iran war in many ways. It's like a fumble recovery, and due to their base 44, also known as Oruz 44, Eagle 44, then because of that, kind of United States joint Israel Operation Epic Fury launched 28th of February, and Roaring Lion on that same date deemed a preemptive strike, which geopolitically I have to dedicate some time just to explore the preemptive strike as a whole doctrine and the applications of the preemptive strike throughout after post 9/11, which was a surprise attack on the United States. Actually, I have to mention that Article 5, which is the defensive article of NATO, was only invoked once on behalf of the United States. One for all, one for NATO, only once in its history. Article 5 was only invoked on 9/11. Think about that. Article 5 was only invoked on 9/11. Article 5 of NATO, well, in its 75-year history, think about that. Since 1949, NATO exists. In its 75-year history, Article 5 was only invoked due to 9/11. Supposedly, I was finishing high school. I was in physics class. Supposedly, because I had journals that I written these events down. But my personal memories of being in class on 9/11, it's like blackouts. I have a good memory of the past 11 years. Then before that, living in that moldy place there, maybe I was a junkie, maybe I was doing drugs or that mold. And sometimes memory comes back, with time or some therapy or whatever, maybe PTSD, whatever the case may be, I have this flashbacks of around 2014, early 2014, 2013, when I was kind of on the ground in Montreal. It was like sunrise, and I was getting kicked by like a group of individuals. I was getting kicked. I was on the floor, and I was got on the floor. I was getting kicked, and I kind of got up and started going home. But I have these flashes of getting kicked, by kind of like a bum rash, or kind of several individuals getting kicked kicked and weird stuff. I don't like violence, but I got my scars on the face, on the body, but I don't like violence. But I'm hyper vigilant, and I played that defense hard, as hard as I can, I guess. Played that defense. I'm on a fitness journey again. I do not like violence. I'm hyper vigilant. I like sweating and sports and geopolitics and wafers, and which have my dream, which is part of it is very intellectual, very academic, very scholarly, especially the implementation of my theory. I realize that some of them are very intellectually based, more scholarly, more one has to have some knowledge of the field of geopolitics. This is my special interest, and parallel with rock and roll and dancing, that's where I excel the most. That's where I spend most of my time on a daily basis, analyzing geopolitics and studying and revising, especially parallel to 2019 or post 2019 October, when I had predicted that there was going to be an international conflagration, and in a relationship where I had predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration that is just where the relationships of where we have now to be correlated in all the domains where we exist now. And of course that faculty, or that of course appellation, of course that structure is of course integrally changed as we had known it. And of course myself, I don't have nostalgia, but I do recognize, due to looking at the numbers and the statistics of how majority, again 2/3 of my fellow brothers and sisters Canadians, how it could be problematic, and that they view the times before 2015, before 2016, 2017, whatever the case may be, as being better, as having lived better times for my fellow Canadians. So they have that nostalgia, that sentiment that things were considerably better economically, financially, commercially. And looking at the numbers, I say that many Gen Z millennials, the problems with employment and bills and financial stress, myself included, I can relate to in a way that without having it myself, because for me, my my best days today, the workout that I did today, the cooking that I did today, the meditations that I did today, the food that I'm gonna eat, the geopolitical analysis after this video, because after I do this video, I'm back to doing some email work and back to doing geopolitics, and maybe I'll take a shower or take a bath and rock and roll a bit, write a rock and roll song or two or three, and some English, mostly English, and then some French, because I am Canadian, Quebecer, Canadian, vice versa, North American, always for the 10, the 15, the 3. And the dream is what I will to have support with, and it's pledge your allegiance, to our family. I developed a workout training program system, which is super efficient, great, and excellent, which requires no equipment, that I'm advocating for all to do as much as you can, and in high school, universities, to be implemented in high school, universities, to be of course mass finance for fellow citizens, as we've seen that food insecurity has grown. And now with the Iranian conflict, which again, due to the Strait of Hormuz, it seems that prices of gas are going to skyrocket. We could see $3 gas in 2 weeks. Mid-May, we could see $3 gas. It wouldn't surprise me in Canada to have record-breaking gas prices, because it's never before in the history of the oil disruption have we seen an oil disruption as we have seen now, due to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And it seems that there's not going to be any. It seems that there's not going to be any discussions, really, uh, negotiations between Iran and United States and Israel, United States, Iran, because they couldn't agree on something. So they decided not to go to in Pakistan, where they were supposed to have been held the talks. Right, they were supposed to hold the talks in Pakistan, but it seems that it's not going to work according to how we have seen that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And it seems that with Iran geopolitically, they seem to have want to put an end to the petrodollar, because they're moving their selling of petrol and oil in Chinese yuan. And from what I've seen in the past 3.5 days, with that many, gotta check on this, double check, triple check sometimes, but it seems that to be reports that across the world there's oil refineries are being damaged suspiciously. There's fires and damages and explosions at different across the world in the past 2 weeks. There have been quite mysterious explosions and fires at major refineries, oil refineries across the world. So the Strait of Hormuz also impedes the fertilizer from moving about 40%. I read somewhere 44% of the world's fertilizer, which a lot of countries in Asia and Africa need 44% is almost half of the fertilizer that is not reaching the farmers, and there's going to be some problems with food crops this year and next year, and if it's not resolved. But that is quite a big percentage. Think about that. So we might see growing food insecurity, as we have seen in Canada, that food bank usage has more than doubled. More than doubled. That is quite a big problem. Think about that. More than doubled is officially in 7 years. If I would have been in 40 years, I would have understood. But the fact that it's in 7 years since 2019, that's quite alarming. If it would have been 40 years, 45 years, even 30 years, 25 years, then it would have not been such a big problem for the society. But of course, since it's in 7 years instead of 25 years, it's of course something that I have to say that it is quite alarming, in the fact that myself have that I also have support in food, my food security. Just even the bread that I'm gonna eat after this workout is somebody had donated me, and I gotta salute the farmers, the wheat growers, those farmers who grow the wheat, the small, medium, large, extra large, and we have to make a massive public-private partnership, and that's why we have to be in it. And we're gonna check some hockey and see what's going on there, because we got the Habs go Habs, and here it's Hockey Town and Game 4. Oh, Canadians leading 2-1 and 2-0 in the second period. 14 shots to 12 shots. Oh, what's happening? Somebody got hit hard. It's a hard hit. Was it legal? Yeah, I guess. It wasn't no penalty, but it's 2-0 Montreal, and that was a hard hit on. Is he out of the play? Number 20 got hit, Slavkovsky. That was a brutal hit. But some hits are this particular hit seemed more incidental, meaning accidental than legal or whatever. Let me see. I love hockey, but dancing is my favorite sport. I love gridiron hockey, and they skate. Hey, it's amazing how fast they skate. And the women PVHL, Professional Women's Hockey League, they play as good as the men. If I would have the money, I'd actually prioritize to go see the Victoire from Montreal, the women's hockey, because they don't make as much financially. So they're not even one of them makes $1 million a year, and there's several players on the Habs that make millions. Several, I think there's five that make more than 3 million. More than 3 million, five of them. In the women's, I think who's the most paid? I think it's 100,000 something. It's a big gap, eh? Big, but they're good. They're super good. Oh, the Bell Center is full. There's so many Go Habs go, and I love the sport. The dancing was like, for years and years and years. That me, I can dance for hours and hours and hours. Get that DJ and will to get the Dancing Goddess Army, the Imperial Integrated Dance League, to dance for the environment. Please put the recycling in the recycling. If you go, to put the recycling in the recycling, and that's what it is with that. And that's what we have to be officially to do, and put the recycling in the recycling. That's what's important. So to put the recycling in the recycling, hey, the recycling in the recycling, the recycling and the recycling. That's what we have to do, and the consistencies, of course, of being now related, and to put the recycling in the recycling, and the garbage in the garbage. And thank you those who pick up the garbage, the recycling, the public workers, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, NBA. Please donate some tickets to the public workers. That would be nice, to donate some tickets to the public workers, eh? That would be super nice. Think about that. That would be nice of the sports leagues, and we're gonna build the Imperial People's Coliseum on the Canadian-U.S. border. Gonna rebuild it on the Canadian-U.S. border, and me and Donald Trump are gonna fight. We're gonna fight. We're gonna be fighting in the boxing match. And there's an interesting thing. Yoar Bernard becomes first African international pathway program player. I'm not too familiar about the pathway program player. Pathway program player, that's what we got, of course, for the left or for the right. Pathway player, for that to be left or right and in the middle, and that's what it is with that. And that's how we got for the left and the right and in the middle, and that's how we got, of course, for the left and the right and in the left in the familiar, of course, aspects where we have now to be correlated in the domain, and that's what we got, and that's what we have to be correlated where we got in the left and in the right in the middle, and that's how we coexist now in the official representation of where we have now to be related in the left and the right and in the middle to be left, and all the programs which we have now to be correlated on the left and in the left and in the right in the sphere of the spectrum where we have now to be correlated, of course, in the domains in the left and the right, and all the manifestational programs of where we exist now to be correlated, of course, in the official programs where we have now to be related upon, and that's what we got. So that's where we are now, in the satisfactory appellations, of course. That's what we got. Yeah, that's how we exist. It's so Roy Bernard is the defensive tackle. So it's a program that I'm not too familiar with, but there's a first player from Africa, born in Africa, 306 pounds, 6'4", 6'4", 1/3, 6'4", 1/3, so 6'4", 300 pounds. So of course when this program, I don't know exactly, is it Red Murdoch that got Red Murdoch that got drafted last? Is it Red Murdoch? Red Murdoch got drafted last, maybe. That is just the correlational aspects where we have now, of course, projected in all the environment and all the aspects, of course, of where we are to be related upon, and just that faculty, of course, that is the relationship of existing now. But Murdoch, Red Murdoch is the one who got drafted last, right? Mr. Irrelevant. Red Murdoch, R.E.D. I think that's a nickname, though. I'm not sure if that's exactly the name, because maybe it's just a nickname. Like myself, several nicknames. Rainbow Dragon, always for the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the lovers. Always for the lovers, the train conductors, the butchers, firefighters, all those involved in the production, distribution of food, and all those now, of course, involved in that production, distribution of food, and all, of course, who are now in the implementation of the relationships of the aspects of our civilizational complex where we are to be involved in this dynamic that is quite interesting, the dynamic of exploring the NFL round picks and the financial aspects of different players, such as Purdy being offered a $5 million 5-year, 265 million, which if you do the math, 265 divided by 5 equals about 53 million annually. It might be separated in different years, increasing incremental until get that 265, but it averages out. The average is 53 million a year. So War Bernard becomes first African international pathway program player. So I have to look into the specific. I've heard about it generally, but to be honest, I don't know much information about this particular NFL program called the International Pathway Program. There, International Pathway Program, International Pathway Program player to be selected. To be selected. International Pathway Program player. So I really have to look more in depth. Okay, this is the last video on the draft. The best athlete in this year's draft, Caden, let's see, Kadyn, Caden Proctor, 6'7", 369 pounds, so probably O-line, squats 800 pounds, benches 500 pounds. Nobody marches like me, nobody dances like me, and nobody geopolitics like me. And dancing, marching, challenge the NFL millionaire players to come march with me for 4 hours nonstop. Live stream, challenge any athlete who makes how many millions a year? Top athletes of the NFL, National Football League, National Hockey League, NBA, MLB. This is a challenge from now on until July. Come march with me 4 hours nonstop. You can bring all the water you want, all the snacks you want. We can live stream it. If you can't march with me, you gotta give me 10% of your salary for the Dragon Army, the Imperial Integrated SSD Legion, and the Dancing Goddess Army deal. The Imperial Integrated Security Service and Defense Force and the Dragon Army, and the Dancing Goddess Army, the Imperial Integrated Dance League, the Dance League, to dance for the environment, and to dance for environmental education and action, for environmental education and action in the concomitant aspects where we have now to be co-represented and officially about in all the domains where we go exploring that faculty, of course, of being now engaged in all the domains where we coexist. And that's why we have now to be correlated, and all the faculties and all the members where we have now correlated and appreciated in all the correlationships of where we exist now. So of course all that aspect of life and daily activities, as I encourage all to work out, train, exercise, and encourage all to adopt, integrate across all North American collective institutions, organizations, universities, and security forces and armed forces, and my workout training program, which I created back in 2019. I performed more than 372 sessions of it. It's simple, effective, efficient. It has rules. It has to be within the rules, and the beauty of it is not meant to be for aesthetics, but it's meant to be have increasing general overall fitness. So the increasing of general overall fitness, that's what it's meant to do, and that's what basically it's doing. That's what it's doing basically. That's what basically my workout is designed to do, and that's what it basically is doing. It increases general overall fitness. It is a simple, effective workout training program system designed and made go hand in hand with a workout training program system that I created. My workout training program system, that I created back in 2019, that I have myself performed more than 372 sessions. I'm gonna end it with the discussion on it. So of course, I created a workout training program system, and these are the rules. You have to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks push-ups, hawk squats, 100 push-ups, 100 squats. You have to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. The hawks, you got to go on the toe and flap your wings like this. You can see me doing it. From 2019, I did hundreds of it, and it goes hand in hand with the World War III scenario, which I predicted. As you can see, that they will have day 1, day 44, day 93, day 333, day 418, blah, 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 of the World War III scenario, which I've created, of course. But of course, that relationships, of course, is something that we have, of course, to do now in the dynamics. But that is basically the fundamental rules. Or you have to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. But you are allocated. One is allocated 93 minutes, 44 seconds, and 9/11ths of a second. 9/11 is to commemorate the 9/11 terrorist attacks, but 93 minutes, 44 seconds, almost 45 seconds basically, and 9/11ths of a second, 93 minutes. So that's an hour and a half, an hour and 33 minutes, 44 seconds to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. Once you start the countdown, you cannot stop. You got to march, jog, or run, or walk fast pace, or walk it. You can't stop. Basically, you cannot pause. You got to, once the countdown of the 93 minutes, 44 seconds, and 9/11ths of a second starts, you have to continuously march. You have to continuously march and keep it in motion and walk and work out and train. You cannot stop and pause. If you do, you have to restart. So if you're successful, that is the standard examination for the Dragon Army, as I've been calling for years and years and years, for its creation as a mass North American public-private partnership, NORAD-NATO, public-private partnership, being co-pilot, co-equal with the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, and the financially stressed, but Today was a great workout. Today is my greatest day, and make me some good loving. I know somebody's making love across the empire.